Yesterday on Twitter, I made the following post. Having the realization the GOP has been under violent threat from its own base pretty much since it started. This is why they will lie, cheat, steal, and do just about anything to stay in power. Their own base will, quite literally, kill them if they don't. Some may argue that all politicians are beholden to their base, but this is simply not the case. Democrats will write, petition, march on, and protest when their politicians make decisions they don't agree with. The GOP, on the other hand, will literally threaten death to their politicians if they don't comply with their wishes. Do what I say or I'll kill you. That's the Republican way. This is also part of the reason they are so attached to the Second Amendment. It's less about protection and more about the threat. Let's take a look at just some of the examples in recent news of how the GOP has turned on its own, threatening physical harm to the politicians themselves and their families if they don't break the law by overturning the election. Back in early December, Trump supporters and members of the GOP began threatening the Georgia Secretary of State for legally certifying the votes. Then they turned on the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, even calling for his arrest. Then a top Georgia election official had to come out and say this.
It has all gone too far. All of it. Joe DeGenova today asked for Chris Krebs, a patriot who ran CISA, to be shot. A 20-something tech in Gwinnett County today has death threats and a noose put out saying he should be hung for treason because he was transferring a report on batches from an EMS to a county computer so he could read it. It has to stop. Mr. President, you have not condemned these actions or this language. Senators, you have not condemned this language or these actions. This has to stop. We need you to step up, and if you're going to take a position of leadership, show some. My boss, Secretary Raffensperger, his address is out there. They have people doing caravans in front of their house. They've had people come onto their property. Tricia, his wife of 40 years, is getting sexualized threats through her cell phone. It has to stop. This is elections. This is the backbone of democracy, and all of you who have not said a damn word are complicit in this. It's too much. Death threats, physical threats, intimidation. It's too much. It's not right. They've lost the moral high ground to claim that it is. I can't begin to explain the level of anger I have right now over this. And every American, every Georgian, Republican and Democrat alike, should have that same level of anger. Mr. President, it looks like you likely lost the state of Georgia. We're investigating. There's always a possibility. I get it. And you have the rights to go through the courts. What you don't have the ability to do, and you need to step up and say this, is stop inspiring people to commit potential acts of violence. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get shot. Someone's going to get killed.
The latest and greatest is an attempt to sue Republican Vice President Mike Pence, attempting to remove his authority to preside over a January 6th meeting of Congress to finalize election results. The case has already been thrown out. The crappy thing about being in a cult is it's only fun when you comply. As soon as you deviate even a little from the cult's desires, you become eligible for excommunication and death in some circumstances. If this party weren't the worst thing that has ever happened to this country and world, I would feel sorry for them. I really would. These people sold their souls and are now permanent puppets to a profoundly mentally ill and evil base. Once they declare their allegiance, they can never renounce it or face the literal wrath of their base if they do. They can never entertain any ideas that are not approved of by the cult and can never say anything that sounds even remotely like a left-leaning talking point. However, the cult is so wicked they will reject ideas that would actually benefit themselves and their families because they believe they are democratic or left-leaning ideals. For example, imagine how many of them really needed that $2,000. Imagine how many of them really needed $2,000 per month since the pandemic began. But they can't say so because that's what the left wants. So they'd accept their own poverty to spite the left and stay in allegiance with the cult. Like the Georgia Secretary of State said, our current state of affairs is unpatriotic and disheartening. But this is the environment he and his constituents tolerated into existence. They were okay with this behavior as long as it wasn't directed towards them, failing to understand that evil has no loyalty, it only has targets. What they are now discovering, though, and perhaps what they've always known and been trying to avoid, is the inevitable day when they would have to tell their base no. And much like a child who has just met the boundary of a parent, they are throwing a full-fledged violent temper tantrum, and their parents are actually afraid. This channel was created to help with the deconstruction and eradication of this party. They are a cancer and a sore on this country and the world, and needed to be gone at least 50 years ago. There have been talks of secession amongst them, and this is a move I fully support. I will do a video on this. However, when you secede, please flee America altogether. Go start a new republic on a remote island far, far away and never come back. Please like, comment, and share this video. There will be more to come.